Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 28 of the Roots of Life podcast. If you'd like to know more about the Roots of Life podcast, feel free to reach out to us at rootsoflifepodcast@gmail.com. For everything Roots of Life, you can go to rootsoflifepodcast.com. There's blog posts, there's all the previous episodes that we've recorded. Everything you want to know or hear about is on that website. So stay tuned and enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another fantastic episode of the Roots of Life podcast. My name is Taylor. I am one half of the hosts on the Roots of Life podcast, joined by, he just moved to Vancouver Island, James Fitzgerald.
What up? I'm doing this podcast today from my parents' bedroom because
parents' bedroom?
From my parents' bedroom because my pretty princess room. No, my pretty princess room is used for fittings when my mom needs to do fittings for her business. So
what, for the people that don't know, what does your mother do?
My mom is a seamstress. She makes prom dresses. She alters prom dresses. She makes wedding dresses. Pretty much anything to do with dresses and or sewing. She's got it down.
You want to know what the coolest part about your mom's job is?
That I have 27 dresses in my room?
No, maybe. I don't know. Maybe for you.
No, it's not.
But one of my favorite parts about your mom's job was coming over and like when we were 12, 13, 14 and all the 17, 18-year-old girls would come over at prom time. They're like getting dresses on and like getting all like good looking and they're all like these fine ass honeys.
Yep.
And it was just great to see all these pretty looking girls.
It really was. That was probably like the best. My childhood was great. There was always like good looking older girls showing up and I was like, yeah. Especially when you're like a young male, like 12 to 15 or whatever. It was always weird though, because you're like, for me, it's like there's been more naked girls in my room than like I can count, and I've seen maybe like 4 of them total. Anyways, today's episode, we decided to talk about some weird stuff that we've read on the internet. This last week, I've just been kind of collecting weird things that I've found on Facebook or people have sent to me. So I thought I'd share some of them. The first, we're gonna start off kind of mellow, and then we'll amp it up till the end here. So the first ones, we have some plants we can talk about that actually are beneficial for you to have in your bedroom. Speaking of bedrooms,
why would anybody want plants in their bedroom?
I don't know. Maybe because they look nice, or because plants actually produce oxygen, which helps you breathe, which is great because breathing is kind of what keeps you alive. But hey, each their own.
So Jimmy, what is the first plant that people want to maybe keep in their bedroom?
The first plant that people maybe want to keep in their bedroom is aloe vera. So aloe vera actually has a few really good benefits. One, it works amazing if you get a sunburn or if you burn yourself in any way. You can cut it open, put it on the burn. So it's great. It's kind of good to have around the house for medical purposes, but it also produces oxygen and is easily maintained. So that's another big benefit. You don't have to be like watering it every week or paying attention to it. It's easily maintained. It's pretty close to being a cactus, so it's pretty easy. Do you have any aloe vera in your house, Taylor?
I don't, but I have. My mom always used to keep aloe vera in the house, and it was one of those things that we used for everything.
Yeah.
She always kept it in the fridge, I remember, and so whenever there was a burn or a cut, or they're great for sunburns. I'm pretty sure aloe vera, because of the way, like, I think it's the way it produces the oxygen, it will actually help like keep produce fresh.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So there's like tons of weird little things. You can get aloe vera and like, you can get the gel or you can like use it for different things, but I've heard of people using it for mouthwash.
I've never heard of that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's obviously just like an alternative, I think, because I'm sure some people probably aren't comfortable using like the Listerine,
the
which has like
fluoride
alcohol
and
in it. And yeah, because obviously we all know fluoride's bad for you.
Yeah.
Contrary to popular belief.
Yeah, I've had aloe water as well, and that's really good. I don't know if you can like make it yourself, but because I'm not sure how edible the plant is unless you do something with it, but aloe water is pretty good. You can buy it at the grocery store. Anyways,
Man, have you ever had the juice with the little like jelly things in it?
yeah, isn't that like the aloe water? It has jelly things
Like
in
the big green.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Containers.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude, that stuff's so good.
so good.
That stuff's amazing.
At first, it's weird though because you get those like
when
jelly things. You're like, whoa, I gotta eat while I'm drinking or whatever, but it's so good.
It took me a couple to get used
Yeah.
to it, but once I did get past that initial what is this, it was one of my favorite drinks for a long time.
Yeah, I used to drink it all the time. Haven't had it in a while. Oh, and the other thing about aloe is it helps you sleep apparently because it actually produces oxygen at night. Is what I've read here. It actually produces oxygen at night, whereas most plants they produce oxygen during the day when they're getting sunshine, when photosynthesis can occur. But as you were saying, in the fridge, that it works to produce oxygen. When the door's closed, it's dark, so I'm sure that's probably part of the allure to using aloe vera in that way. Our second plant is lavender. As many people know, it has a calming and relaxing effect. It actually helps to alleviate a lot of anxiety, and just the aroma alone, for example, like lavender oil, is used in a lot of therapies, like aromatherapy.
I do know, I have heard of people using like a lavender essential oil for to help with, pretty sure it has like antioxidant effects.
Oh yeah.
So
Okay.
it helps with destroying bad like gut bacteria and all that kind of jazz.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you can use it for that. I have also heard of people using lavender for healthy hair.
Really? Lavender for healthy hair.
Yes.
I think a lot of like oils, when you put like certain essential oils into your hair, it's really good for them. I've know Ashley uses a lot of like coconut oil or argan oil and things like that. So I think there's just a lot of different oils that are good for the hair.
See, I'm definitely no hair expert,
Yeah,
but
neither am I.
but our hair, obviously, like we all know that our hair does produce a natural oil.
Mm-hmm.
But I can only imagine what would happen when you put oils with certain like nutrients and vitamins in your hair, right? And then within your scalp, right? Obviously, like your skin, will soak those up. And I think, when your scalp, begins to soak up those nutrients and vitamins from like the other oils that you're introducing to it, and then that like right on the scalp, those nutrients and vitamins would get into like your hair cuticles and everything, which I think kind of makes sense, and just how it would have a positive benefit on your hair.
Yeah, exactly. I know I use certain oils for my beard. It smells like sandalwood, so I'm sure it's like sandalwood oil or something, but it's really cool. It smells great, and I feel like a man when I'm wearing it. It boosts my confidence. Honestly, I put this stuff in. I'm like, yeah, I worked on my beard today. I feel great. I'm going to go take on the world.
That's awesome, man.
I know. It's weird because it's just an oil that I put on my face. And I'm like, yeah, I'm awesome now.
There's a certain aspect to getting like grooming yourself and making yourself feel good.
Yeah.
That what's just like when you break it down, like what is that? Look good, feel good. You know, like if you look good, if you've put on like nice clothes that day and you've like groomed yourself and you feel like you look good, then you're gonna feel good about yourself, as opposed to wearing sweatpants. I mean, if that's what you like to wear and that's what you think you look good in, I'm not bashing the sweatpants, but to take care of yourself has like, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel confident.
Definitely.
So I can't grow a beard, or I'm sure that would be something that I would gravitate towards as well.
I mean, you got that beautiful goatee going on right now.
Like I can't even do my hair anymore because my hair is just getting so ridiculously long. It's becoming an issue, I think.
Yeah, I gotta cut my hair. I've got too many grays showing right now. I gotta get rid of that. I'm gonna skip out of these plants. Let's get into some more weird stuff. Let's move on a little bit. Let's get a little weirder, a little deeper into the world of weird. So
the world of weird. It's my favorite world.
So we all know we have cultures across different countries, different groups, and there are a few subcultures that I have found that are more on the fringe, the weirder groups of people. So some of those would include juggalos, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard of. Those people they basically come from the band called the Insane Clown Posse. So back in like the 90s, early 2000s, there was a group called the Insane Clown Posse. They had some really violent and crazy lyrics, but it was also pretty cool. Some people that listened to them got really into it and started dressing up like clowns. And some of those people, basically like the 1%, also decided to take on the persona of the Insane Clown Posse and start killing people and being very violent and, according to this article, disgustingly misogynistic. So they're a group that's literally based on misogyny and violence in more the extreme version of them. It's kind of what the lyrics of this band were about. So this group is just kind of crazy. They've actually been classified as a gang because of the 1%ers that just go out there and kill people.
I call it great branding. These guys were smart enough to create a loyal following that they were able to capitalize on and create an income from.
Yeah, really, it is.
And that's ultimately what a lot of bands and companies and businesses have to do, right?
Yeah.
You know, for everybody that has ever listened to any hip hop song ever, you've probably heard the song Stan by Eminem, and now long-term loyal fans of Eminem call themselves Stan, and that's just like an instant like recognition thing that like people know you're a diehard, right? And then I know another company, Kind of Funny, that calls their fan base best friends, and clearly they're not the business's best friends, but it's a way to be recognized as part of that group. So they've like created a tribe for themselves and created a group. So it's really interesting. It's funny because one of the guys from Insane Clown Posse is recently been like, I guess, how do you say, like Twitter beefing with a local Vancouver rapper.
Oh, really?
That I know, a local guy that I've talked to once in a while. You know, I know him on a pretty minuscule level, I guess, but he posts some of the things because I guess the Vancouver guy is dating one of the Insane Clown Posse guys' ex-girlfriends. So wow. It's pretty funny.
That's kind of funny.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily see the appeal in the whole clown thing.
Yeah.
But I think they were also kind of before our time.
Yeah, a little bit.
You know, like when we probably got into that kind of stuff, we were probably on the tail end of their career, when they were big. Mm-hmm. I feel like they're geared towards more like rednecks.
In a way, yeah, I'd say so. They're kind of, in a way, just really dark, violent. They seem, in my opinion, kind of almost unintelligent in some of the things they've said. I know I listened to a few of their songs back in the day. I was never really a fan of it. There was just a couple I liked listening to because when you're a teenager, sometimes you're just angry and you're like, yeah, I'm going to listen to some angry music. And Insane Clown Posse was one of those ones that I like to listen to.
I listened to some of them too. I found them more comical than anything, which I think was something that they did really well. It was a pretty fucked up humor.
Yeah.
But it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think they're like, yeah, a lot of it was very misogynistic, but being a teenager, that is something that you kind of gravitate towards just because, like we said before, like obviously you're going through puberty, all these hormones are going, and you're thinking about all these like relationships that you have with females, and obviously, and then, you know, you end up with a lot of weird ideas in your head about just what relationships are and all this kind of shit, and then these guys are kind of like talking about stuff and you're like, oh, and then it gives you, I don't know, it was something to latch on to, I guess.
Yeah.
Going through those kind of like in that time of my life where when you're going through those kind of experiences and you're having those kind of thoughts, it was something to latch on to, but it definitely was not something that lasted. I don't think it wasn't a timeless piece of art in any way, shape, or form.
Fair enough. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like, if you really look into like the lyrics of Sublime, where you're saying like they're really funny and great, like everyone loves Sublime, but then when you really look into it, you're like, that's really dark. But like everybody kind of like, oh yeah, they're great, they're awesome, we should all listen to them. But at the same time, you're like, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't, because that's really dark stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jimmy, what is another subculture out here in the world? Another weird subculture that we can talk about?
Another one would be rubber dollars. They're people that like to dress up as rubber dolls.
How do you dress up as a rubber doll?
Rubber masks, fake skin, whatever. It's I don't even know how to I don't know how to explain it. Like, why would you? Yeah, they wear like rubber masks that look like dolls' faces, kind of thing. I don't know. It's like, I don't know if it's all like men that do it. From what I've read, like it's similar to being like,
it's not.
Men do it. Yeah, I don't think it's all men. Of course, there's always people in these subcultures that are mixed genders, but yeah, it's just so crazy. They wear like life-size rubber suits, and like rubber masks, just looking like very realistic as rubber dolls. Apparently, they also have very realistic looking body parts, including breasts and genitalia that come with these bodysuits. Yeah. It's kind of crazy. I don't even know where to go with this. It's just one of those weird ones that I'm like, I've never heard of that before, and it's something new, and it's outside of my realm of the world.
Yeah, I feel like that would be more common in Asia.
You think so?
Like I think in the East that would be more common. I'm sure there's people in the West who do, but I've heard of the decline of the Japanese, like, I guess the population growth has declined because of the fact that men are now not so interested in having actual relationships with women, as opposed to like now they're having relationships on the internet, and they feel like or with dolls, like actual sex dolls that they feel that they can take care of and things of that nature. And so I don't know, I've heard of those kind of things before in the East, and so I feel like that would be a more common thing over there.
Yeah.
But maybe that could just be me.
I mean, I read like a few years ago, maybe even like 5 years ago now, that Japan was having this big fad happening, and it was called bageling.
Haven't heard of it.
Yeah, they were implanting like silicone into their foreheads, like a silicone like bulb, like bulbous kind of thing, and then you press the center in, so then it's like, it looks basically like you have a bagel on your forehead, and it's like inside your skin, and it's super weird. I don't know if you can get that out later on in life, if you're like, you know what, I don't want a bagel on my forehead anymore. But that was the thing they were doing. It was like a big circle with a hole in the center, like not a hole, but like an indent in the center, and it looked basically like you had a bagel under your skin. So I don't know, it's just kind of like weird fads all over the world. Speaking of rubber dolls, I also watched a video the other day that rubber sex dolls are now being given AI intelligence, like artificial intelligence, so that you can, and they learn from you, and so they become more and more able to anticipate your needs or your conversation, however it's going to be, and you basically like live with this sex robot.
That's fucking crazy.
Right?
That's just, I don't know. That doesn't surprise me, though. That seems like the next step in AI and robotics. I mean, besides the whole sex doll aspect of it. To be able to put rubber and silicone over a robot and give it AI, it seems like the next step in robotics. Like, people, you know, I think there's going to be that transition where obviously like AI becomes more common and common. Same with robotics. But then people... I've seen way too many movies, obviously, but I think the next thing is that people aren't going to be comfortable with it enough, maybe, until they look like humans. But then there's going to become the problem of differentiating the two.
Yeah.
When is the AI going to become too human? And when they look human, how are you going to be able to tell what's what? And at that point, is it going to matter?
That's where the Turing test comes in. Yeah. There's supposed like
I don't know that
Turing
one.
test is basically how they test AI to see if it can, if it's close to being like of human intelligence, and if you can tell that it's not. So basically, like the biggest thing that AI wants to go for is to be able for you to not be able to tell that it's not human, which is pretty crazy.
Have you seen? I don't even remember the name of the movie.
Ex Machina.
Maybe that's the one.
Might be.
Where the guy goes out to the cabin or whatever, and there's the other guy with the AI in the like basement, and he has to like figure it out. Yeah.
That's
okay.
a crazy
you've seen
movie.
it for
I
sure.
love it. It's so good.
Yeah, that movie was badass.
Oh, the ending's crazy too. Anyways,
the girl gets out, right? She kills everyone and she leaves.
Don't tell everyone. Yeah.
Well, the movie's been out for multiple years.
True.
People should know.
Yeah. Go watch it though. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a good movie, and it's kind of right in line with what we're talking about here. So,
okay, the next weird thing. Let's do this. Feeders. They're people that find more sexually arousing to feed someone than actually having sex. So they just feed people until basically pretty close to like them exploding, which it goes well with those people that really just want to like get as fat as possible, because that's another subculture of people that's what they want to do. So feeders are people that just love to feed people. They keep them very well fed. It's predominantly male in this subculture, where they feed their wives or their girlfriends to the point of them being morbidly obese. It's a really interesting group. I'll go to this last one here. Otherkin. They are a group of people that believe that they are not completely human. So otherkin are people that think that they are partly animal, or were supposed to be born as an animal. So a lot of them go and get like surgical procedures that make them look more and more like an animal. For example, there are some people that get surgical procedures to get these long fangs and split their top lip, so that they end up looking kind of like a cat, and they get cat eyes implants. Well, they don't implant cat eyes, but they get they can either tattoo their eyes a certain way, or they get contacts, and they've piercings that look like whiskers and things like this. They wear cat ears or have implants for those. It's pretty cool in terms of just like seeing like, wow, you did that to your body and that's how you want to be. That's really cool. But it's also kind of weird. It's just, we're talking about weird stuff today, so it's kind of weird. Yeah. The way that it's explained in this article is that a lot of these people, they almost feel like transgendered people do, being born in the wrong body, where they feel that they're supposed to be, where they're born as a female, a woman, and feel like they should be a man. These people are born as a human and feel they should be a cat, a fox, a bird, a dragon, be mythical or non-mythical. It's an interesting subculture.
I want to ask you a question, just because this is kind of feeds into your professional field. Is like, what is your take on this from a psychological aspect? Like, do you think that there's some truth to how these people feel, or do you feel like there's some kind of, I don't know, I want to say like disorder, or, you know, something that like kind of pushes them to not want to have to deal with life in a certain way, where they kind of reside into themselves and they feel like they can hide behind this like mask.
Well, with a lot of these subcultures, there are a lot of people that have basically just said that they don't fit into society, or they have rejected society completely. So I don't really know if there's any kind of disorder with it or anything like that, but they're definitely people that don't believe in the society that we have. They don't think they fit in, or they don't think it's a good kind of vibe, I guess, and they go off and decide this is the way I want to live, and this is who I want to be, and this is who I am. And so they're either the feeders, the other kin, the juggalos, whatever, but that's how they believe their society should be, or who they want to be. So it's really interesting. It's really cool that we have a world that's so diverse with so many different like subcultures and people in it that do these different things. But again, it's outside of the norm, so it's interesting. It's cool. But yeah, I don't know if there's a disorder or anything, or even if it's like legitimate. But I mean, looking at the picture of this man that I have in front of me, he has tattoos that look kind of like a tiger markings with these huge fangs. His lip is split in the middle. He's got cat eyes and tons of piercings to look like whiskers. I don't think you'd go that far if you weren't genuinely like, this is who I am. Because that's a lot. But yeah.
I disagree. I feel like people are trying to, like, I feel like at that point they don't have a sense of self, and so they're trying to like hide behind something else.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know, like I feel like people they're just trying to hide and like not deal with life at that point. And they're trying to identify with something else that is not actually who they are.
So that they don't have to go through life and actually like make something of themselves besides just...
They don't have to confront their own demons. Because I think that if you're going to that extreme to be something that you're not, then there's something that, you know, you should probably be addressing that you're not addressing. You know, and I think something like that usually comes from your childhood, some experience or past trauma that you probably went through, maybe that you're not even aware of.
Maybe they are on like a second or third life, and their first life was being a cat. So they have this weird connection to their first life, their previous life, where they were a feline, and now they believe this is how they should be. Yeah,
I want to get into something else quickly for a minute or two. I watched this TV show recently, 13 Reasons Why. Have you heard of it?
I have. I've heard good things about the show, but I've heard that it promotes suicide almost in a glorified way. I haven't watched it though, so I don't have my own opinion on it.
I just finished the show last night. Okay. There's one season, it's 13 episodes, and I got through it, and I finished it last night. I'm not usually the type of person to binge watch Netflix, but I actually ended up doing that.
Did you watch the whole thing?
I got a little... Not all... Okay. No. I watched it, the whole thing over probably 4 or 5 days. Okay. But I got into like 3 episodes last night. Because I got towards the end, and then obviously I was like, I have to finish this, because I was like, damn it. Like, yeah. So anyways, I don't necessarily know if I would agree with it promotes suicide. Like, it definitely gets pretty graphic at times, and it just really to me, I think it made perfect sense. Like, to me, it depicted exactly what I think of when I think of like high school in the United States.
Okay.
Like, I thought it showed that so well in terms of how I compare high school there to here. Obviously, I don't know what high school is like there because I didn't go to high school there. But anyways, my point, what I wanted to talk about was the one girl gets raped and she doesn't remember because she was like hammered. Like, she was like passed out in her bed, and then someone went in and raped her, and it was like her boyfriend's best friend.
Oh, wow.
And so basically, like, her boyfriend's basically poor, and his best friend is like rich, and so his best friend obviously like helps him out and does all this stuff for him, so he feels like this like obligation to his best friend to not do anything, and so he basically lies to his girlfriend and tell her that like, no, nothing happened, because everybody kind of found out about it, but he convinced everybody that like, no, it was me in there that night, not anybody else. And so you didn't get raped, like we just had sex and you were really drunk. But the girl kind of slowly starts to figure it out, and she kind of starts having these like flashbacks, and over time, like throughout the duration of the show, she starts getting really fucked up. Like she starts drinking a lot, and like there's no real evidence as to why necessarily, but she starts like drinking at school, and she's got like these bottles of booze hidden under her bed, and she starts like getting like really fucked up. And it's basically because there's this trauma in her life that she's not consciously aware of. There's something happening internally and unconsciously that her body is dealing with and her brain is dealing with, but she doesn't understand why. And then near the end of the show, it comes out and like it breaks out into the open that like, no, he did rape you. My point being of this is that these people are dealing with things on the surface in a physical way because they're trying or neglecting to deal with what they might not necessarily be conscious and aware of underneath that happened to them in the past. So like, you know, hypothetically, something happens to child, they maybe don't remember it because the memory isn't super vivid or anything. They neglect to address the situation as they get older, and then they find something to grab onto. Next thing you know, they have this weird fucking obsession with cats, and all of a sudden they feel like the only person they connect to with is cats because they've been neglected through like whatever, their parents, or they don't have this kind of relationship with people. And next thing you know, they feel like they are a cat, and they're dressing up and they're getting tattoos in their eyes and whiskers on their face and splitting their lip and doing whatever because there's this shit underneath that they're not dealing with.
Yeah, that's a very like, that's a good possibility. It definitely it goes along with trauma informed practice. That's basically what it says. Is there's a lot of these kids, like the troubled youth, the ones that need a lot of help, the ones that are drug addicted or whatever, they have some trauma that they don't know how to deal with, and a lot of it's like very similar to PTSD, where you have all of these problems, very widespread, and it's hard to basically pin down what it could be. And especially for kids where they don't have that processing skill where they can say, this is what's wrong with me, like this is what I've gone through. And especially when you're really young, you don't even remember some of those things. So it definitely makes sense. I see your point. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, with that being said, let's move on to maybe one more, and then we'll move on to the some of the other weird topics. But let's get one more subculture here. One more subculture. Give me a good one, Jimmy.
Oh, I've got a couple. Would you?
I want one. Just one.
Okay, we'll go with this one. There are people out there that believe they are vampires. They believe they are real vampires. They believe.
Okay.
Yeah, they believe that they are missing something in their life force. They need to basically feed off of people to gain this missing part of their life force. So there's two different kinds of these vampires. There are the psychic vampires, who suck people's energy out of them to feed. And then there are sanguinarian vampires, which actually feed on people's blood. So these people, they actually drink people's blood or drain energy from people. But it says here's some of them drain energy from crowds so they don't deplete one person. I don't know how they do that. I just don't understand like where you'd be doing that. It's cool belief though. You're a vampire. It's like I understand like the draw. There's like that raw sexuality and power from vampirism, like especially in like old movies. You're like, oh, that guy's like super powerful and just like ultra beautiful, and he's just like that forever. So like I get where like people would be like, oh, this is what I am, because it's kind of it's almost like they're superheroes in a way. And they just have like one flaw, which is like, oh, they have to drink human blood sometimes.
I like the sun too much.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if they're like, oh, I'm a vampire and can't be in the sun. I would assume.
I would think so. I would think that, yeah, like you wouldn't go in the sun. You would probably mentally have some kind of reaction to sunlight,
Yeah,
and
you just choose not to be.
there's
out there
people
like that.
actually who are allergic to the sun, and so they like can't go
Or
outside.
they have to be like fully
else-
dressed in black, fully covered kind of thing when they do go out.
Yeah, I can understand why maybe those people would think of themselves as vampires.
Actually, yeah,
that kind of
see them-
that kind of makes
I
sense.
can see that being like, oh, hey, I'm actually allergic to the sun, so I identify with this subculture, which is cool. But
Yeah,
it actually
absolutely.
says here that there's not, there are almost no violent crimes committed by this group because of the prejudice that they already have. They try to be very peaceful and based on consent, so that's kind of cool. At least they're not the evil kind of vampires.
That'd be such a conversation to have. Hey, I'm a vampire, but I don't fuck people up. Can I get some of your blood?
Right? That'd be kind of interesting. Hey, I need to drink your blood.
So, I mean, I wonder what they do. Like, do they get like medical bags and insert like an IV, or do they get like needles and little capsules and
know.
like draw it and just like shoot it? Do
I
they drink
think,
it? Like, what are they doing?
I think some of them do also
think
get
about like the STDs,
right? That's what I was thinking. Like, man, you could get a lot of like, this is a very dangerous subculture for the person like in it. You can get a lot of like diseases and things from drinking someone's blood. It's a very like, you'd have to be very careful. And I think similar to the other kin, some of them also get like implants of big fangs as well, like they like permanent. So I'm sure some of them might say, hey, I'm a vampire, can I suck your blood? And there might be another person that's into like blood play that'll be like, cool, do it, and then they actually bite them. So I'm sure that's probably a thing as well somewhere in there.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I actually have one more subculture that I want to talk about
Let's do
quickly
it.
because it's kind of an interesting one. They're calling it anti-vaxxers.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
People who are opposed to vaccinations, which is an interesting one because it kind of depends on the approach that you take to it. But I kind of agree with it in a sense that I don't know if I would want to force my children to get vaccinated. Because I kind of take like a holistic, natural approach to my life, I guess. In the sense that like I feel like our bodies can develop these things on our own.
I mean,
and
a lot of it though, the vaccines you get, it's not like, hey, this is so you don't get the flu. It's like, this is so you don't get polio or smallpox or meningitis. It's like the stuff that like literally kills people. And these are all like diseases that have almost been eradicated until the point where now there's so many people that are anti-vaxxers. They're basically coming back kind of thing. People are getting these things again. But that's just
it's an interesting one because I've definitely heard more and more about it in the past few years.
Yeah, it's becoming like a prominent subculture almost.
Yeah, I don't know. For the same reason, like I don't want to have kids because I don't want to be responsible for someone else's life. I don't want to have to make those decisions. I can hardly take care of myself, let alone a child who might have some fucked up life because I'm making decisions for them.
Yeah.
Like that seems so twisted. I don't think I'm in any position to do so.
Yeah, I've never been one to like get the flu shot. I got it last year because I needed to get it for work. But I don't really agree with flu shots because I'm like, you know what, like your body can fight the flu. Maybe when you're like a young child or older, you might need to get the flu shot because your immune system's lower. It's not as good as like a middle-aged healthy person, or a younger healthy person. That has a great immune system. You might need that boost. Whereas like when it comes to the anti-vaccination stuff, I see that as like you're not vaccinating people for things that they can't stop with their immune system. So it's just different theories, I guess. I don't think I have. I think I'm missing like one of my vaccination shots from when I was a kid.
I don't even I haven't gotten a shot, like a vaccination shot, since I was probably like 10 or 12.
Well, you got the ones in high school. Like
no, I didn't.
Like the hepatitis A, B, or whatever.
Nope, I didn't get any shots in high school. Not that I can remember.
Or yeah, well,
maybe I did.
I think elementary school you get a few, and then you get like redone in high school as well.
Yeah, I think I made the choice to in high school not to.
Nice. Fair enough.
For whatever reason, I was like, no. Like, I have no problem with needles or anything. I think it was just literally a choice that I had made for myself. And that's something that I've always been conflicted on. And I think I've talked about it on the podcast before, where I explained the fact that even when I was 11 or 12 years old, I was very opinionated as a child in the way that I wanted to be respected like an adult. I wanted to be able to make my own decisions and be responsible for my own life. And yeah, I think we had a discussion one time about, I think you had actually reminded me of the story where, like I said things that were, I like to think of like that were told from like an adult stature, like an adult's kind of perspective. But because it came from a child, adults didn't respect the opinion. And I always felt like even as a child, I was able to give respect, but I was like, because I was a child, I never got respect. And that was an issue with me. And I wanted to be able to make my own decisions. And obviously, like, yes, like I was a child and I didn't know everything, but I felt like I was smart enough to make my own decisions. And that's where I have a problem with the idea of me raising a child, is like, I don't want to have to make those decisions for someone, because I wanted to make those decisions for myself. And I felt like I took ownership of my own life.
Yeah.
And and that's hard for me to do for someone else, because I feel like I can't do that because I always wanted to do that for myself, and it's something that I've always been conflicted with. And so
that makes sense, though. Everyone wants respect, right? So even as a young kid, that feeling's still there. I know I was always thinking like, hey, you're an adult and you're not showing me that respect, but I have to still show it to you. And it's weird. I was never one to get upset about it and like actually say anything, because I'm still really not that person. But it was always there where you're thinking like, hey, this is weird. I don't know if this is okay, but it kind of makes sense because you're the adult, so you should know more than me. But yeah, it's strange. But speaking of taking control of your own life, let's move on to the next slightly terrifying weird thing. Would you like to explain it? Because you were really excited when I showed you this one.
The roller coaster of death.
The roller coaster of death.
Okay, so yeah. I think I'm just going to kind of read the article because it's probably the best way to go. So the article is called The Roller Coaster of Death. It says, death is terrifying, so why not make it exhilarating instead? That's the purpose of the euthanasia coaster. A giant Big Dipper designed aimed at taking its passengers through a series of extreme drops and loops that would create euphoria and then kill them by starving the brain of oxygen. This macabre invention is the brainchild of Lithuanian engineer Julijonas Urbonas?
I don't know. Maybe.
Sure. Who designed it in 2010 as a PhD candidate in design interactions at the Royal College of Art in London. He who developed a romance for amusement parks during the years he worked at one saw this horror movie scenario as an alternative death ritual propelling people at the afterlife, as he puts it, humanely with elegance and euphoria. No one's actually built it yet except as a scale model. So yeah, basically you get on a roller coaster, you go through a bunch of loops, and because of the excitement and the adrenaline, you develop this sense of euphoria. And then does it actually go high enough to starve the brain of oxygen, or is it because of a giant dip? I didn't get that far.
You plummet into a long, steep plunge, followed by the first 360-degree loop. That's where most riders would die, apparently. And traveling at 100 meters per second, the person would experience a G-force induced loss of consciousness due to lack of oxygen reaching the brain, which often causes a sense of euphoria. Just in case that first loop doesn't kill you, though, there's 6 more.
Oh my goodness.
So it's like, oh, that was sweet. That loop didn't kill me. Here's 6 more. And they just get smaller, so it's like more and more G-force, so you go around faster.
Oh, yeah. Wow. The roller coaster would be more than 3 times the height of the world's tallest roller coaster, the Kingdom Ka, which took 18 months and $25 million to construct.
That's crazy high.
Yeah. I don't know. How high does it say how high it is?
No, but thinking that the world's highest roller coaster and then 3 times that, I'm like, that's got to be high. Looking at this scale model picture, it's ridiculous, though. It
starts, and the first one's supposed to kill you.
Yeah, roller coasters are already they're not the safest contraptions. They're kind of scary,
but they're fun.
They are super fun. The part that makes it fun, though, is that you're like, man, what if this thing jumps off the tracks and I die? Awesome. This one,
it's happened too.
Die, though. Yeah, it has.
It's one of those things that you think will never happen to you, but it's happened like much too often. Mm-hmm. It's happened in like Western Canada multiple times. I've heard of it happening at our playland in Vancouver here. I've heard it happening on the roller coaster in Edmonton, which I've been on multiple times. Yeah, and so the thought of that is pretty insane.
So yeah.
Let's go on to the next part, Jimmy.
Okay, this part I'm like super into right now. This part's really cool. This article is from August last year. There is a way to classify aliens. If you want to know what kind of alien you've found when you've been abducted, this is how you do it. You got to ask them a few simple questions just to get to the bottom of it. So, type 1 alien civilization. They are also called a planetary civilization. They can use and store all of the energy which reaches its planet from its parent star. So it's like solar energy or geothermal, because the sun heats the planet and then the planet gives off heat. We use it to produce energy.
That is some crazy shit.
So that is the basic, lowest type of civilization. We are below that because we do not use enough of that energy the way we should. We should be using more of it, more of that sustainable energy. We would actually be on this scale, after someone has nicely done the math for us. In 2015, our total energy consumption would have put us at 0.72 on this Kardashev scale of aliens. So Kardashev is Nikolai Kardashev. He's a Soviet astronomer that proposed this scale in 1964. So type 2 civilization, he says, is a civilization that can harness the total energy of its planet's parent star. So it's basically like it can like a vacuum just suck up the entire star, use all of the energy that it possesses and puts off, which is really cool. Going out there, stealing the sun, all that crazy stuff. Thirdly, before they insert your anal probe, you got to ask them if they can control the energy of the scale on the scale of their entire host galaxy. So it goes anything that reaches your planet, anything from the star in front of you, straight to the galaxy. So a type 3 civilization can absorb an entire galaxy. For example, the Milky Way, that black hole in the center, maybe it's not just a black hole, it's an alien device devouring our galaxy. That's it. That's the crazy shit right there. Type 3 aliens are going to suck us up one day. Although by the time that happens, our star will have exploded. But anyways, that's how you classify aliens. I think it's really cool.
I would love to live to see us become a type 1 civilization.
Oh man. I think it's proposed that within the next 100 to 200 years it's a possibility.
Well, hopefully 100 years. I won't even live to be another 100 years. Like, I won't live another 100 years because I doubt I'll live to be 125. I had to think about that.
5. That's awesome. All right.
But yeah, that's super cool, man.
Isn't it? I thought so. I really like the topic of like aliens and weird stuff like that.
To think that we're not even 3/4 of the way to like a type 1, which is like the most basic of them.
Although Tesla may be on the way to pushing us towards that type 1 with their new solar roofs, their new solar roof panels. We will be able to harness even more energy from the sun, which would be really cool.
They're putting solar panels on the top of their cars.
No, Tesla has made solar roof panels. They look like shingles, and each one of them is a solar panel, and you covered your entire house with it.
Wow.
Well, like your entire roof, I guess, which is pretty sweet. And they have a guarantee, a lifetime guarantee, because they're supposed to be so durable and like basically indestructible that if they do break, Tesla will just deal with it and fix it for you.
Wow. The advancement of technology, my friend.
Yeah.
Think about how much you would save in money. In monies?
In monies? Ooh, save that monies.
You save that monies.
Yeah, Tesla's actually worth more now than BMW because they're seen as not just an automobile company. So their investors are investing more because they see them as the company of the future.
They've always done a pretty good job at portraying that image.
Right? Yeah, they're doing well. So I think that's pretty cool.
Shout out to Tesla.
Shout out to Tesla. I'd like one of your cars, please. Just kidding.
Wouldn't we all?
Right? Anyways, if you ever get abducted by aliens, make sure before they bring you back, you ask them what scale they get their energy from. Planet, star, or galaxy.
And then you'll at least have the knowledge to classify the aliens that you've been abducted by.
Yeah, at least you'll be able to classify them and you won't just be like, somebody abducted me and I've lost 3 days of my life. I don't know what happened. And people won't just think you're some crazy person.
True. So let's do a quick recap. We've got some plants that are good for multiple benefits, like aloe vera and lavender. And then we've got some crazy ass subcultures like juggalos, anti-vaxxers,
Otherkin, vampires, people that like to dress up as dolls.
You can classify what type of civilization people are or aliens are by defining what kind of energy they use. You can also kill somebody with a freaking roller coaster.
Or yourself is what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to kill yourself on this roller coaster, I guess.
You're supposed to make that choice. But somebody has designed a roller coaster that you can do that on.
Yeah. Haven't built it. But hey, if you're a billionaire out there, there you go. Next project.
I don't even think you have to be a billionaire, but you got to have a few $1 million in your pocket anyways.
Yeah. I was just thinking of that other one was like 25 million and this one's supposed to be 3 times the height. So I'm like,
Yeah. I feel like
that's
the thing is too, like as it gets higher, it's gonna get more and more expensive because as you get higher, it's gonna, I think, like exponentially grow in terms of like the cost to build it.
I think you're right.
So on that note, that is episode 28 of the Roots of Life podcast. Thank you everybody for listening. We hope you enjoyed some of the weird facts that we came up with today. We enjoy talking about it. So thank you everybody. My name is Taylor. I am one half of the host on the Roots of Life podcast, joined by James Fitzgerald. Thank you everybody, and we look forward to talking with you next week.
Thanks, rollers. Stay weird.